and welcome or welcome back to the Wool Sea Knitting Podcast, formerly known as the Night Sky Knitting Podcast. My name is Rachel, I am your host, and I am a knitter based out of Ottawa, Canada, where I live with 2 roommates, an army of spiders helping me against the carpet beetle menace, and 1 rogue centipede helping me manage the spider population. This channel is my chatty outlet to talk all things knitting, and today we are going to be doing a summer knitting plans, dreaming and inspiration video, as well as a 6-month, half-year stash update video. And I have even made a list of things to talk about. I planned in advance more than in just my head, and I'm really excited about it. So I see this video fitting into kind of 3 general sections. 1, my overall or overarching objectives or themes for summer knitting and making in 2023, and then the actual projects I have in mind with some yarns to show you that I intend to make into specific things, and then a brief update on how my net negative 2023 grams of yarn project is going. So first things first, I want to talk about my overall objectives for making stuff this summer. Number 1, have as much fun as possible. I love knitting and I like crafting in general a lot. It gives me a lot of fulfillment and satisfaction in being able to make stuff that I really like, that I need and get a lot of use out of, and that's perfectly suited to what I like in a garment or an object. I really like being somewhat self-sufficient. I'm not self-sufficient. I'm reliant on society, and there's nothing really wrong with that. But I like accumulating new skills and abilities. It makes me really happy. It keeps me stimulated and fulfilled, and I like to learn. And so I really want to make sure I'm not getting caught up in certain amount of yarn out of stash pressures and deadlines and racing, with my knitting needles in a flurry to meet certain stash down objectives. I want to be having as much fun in the process of knitting as possible and just thinking, wow, when you stop and you look at your project and you think, this is so pretty, I like it so much. Not, I need to finish this. No. I would like to avoid that as much as possible, which is a rut that I do sometimes find myself in. Number 2, that also means just kind of eliminating as much pressure on myself as possible. Another kind of deadline that I feel a little bit with my summer making is that summer is fleeting where I live in Canada. It's really, really hot. However, so I have a great need for summer garments. However, limited time to wear them. By September, it's already kind of nippy, especially in the evenings, which is great normally for being a knitter who loves wool and woolly objects, but I've said this before, so sorry for the people who've heard this, so many times already, but I have a great need for summer garments. I don't prioritize buying them because of how limited the time I would wear them is where I live in my climate. However, that means that very little of my current summer wardrobe fits my body, my lifestyle, or my needs right now. And I'm in the process of, I've turned some of it into rags. I have put a lot of it aside to be washed and given away to my neighbors or to friends or whatever. But I have a need for things like this t-shirt that I made last year. This is the Mio Mai tee designed by Park Williams, and I love it. And I'm also really proud of the pickup along this neckline. And I wanted to highlight that for you right now. And I made this in 100% cotton. It's a sport to DK weight pattern, and I really, really like wearing it. I would like other casual summer garments that would really, really be helpful to me in just getting dressed every day. I want things that I can throw on and not have to think about, that go with a bunch of the different bottoms that I have in my summer wardrobe, and also would work into extending into those transition seasons like spring and autumn to get maximum wearability out of them. Because of that, and also because it gets so hot here and most buildings don't have air conditioning, Actually, I don't know if that's true. My apartment does not have air conditioning. I'm also wanting as lightweight and breathable fabrics as possible, and that means I'm making a lot of, or planning to make a lot of fingering and sport weight garments this summer, which will take more time. And so part of having as much fun as possible is not being pressed about getting things done quickly, because this is my hobby, and I want to preserve the love that I feel for my hobby as much as possible. So that's overarching objective number 1. Objective/theme number 2 is, I really have to pull this close to me because I'm not wearing my glasses, because when I wear my glasses, it reflects what's happening around me, and I find it distracting looking at the viewfinder with the reflection of the glasses, and I imagine it would be too, but that means I have to pull this up and go like this to read what I'm doing. Number 2, use mostly what I have. I don't want to put any hard and fast yarn ban rules or limitations on myself because it just doesn't suit me. But I am excited to use the yarn that I have in stash, especially more summer yarns and sock yarns, as well as the pattern booklets and magazines that I have accumulated over the past couple of years. For example, this issue of Pom Pom that I got last autumn on sale, it's a back issue, it's winter 2019, and it's number 31. And there's this sock pattern that's really neat that I would like to see if I could make this summer, as well as a hat pattern that I would really like to make. There are garments in this, including the cover sweater, which is the Saltings by Sarah Solomon, that I really love and would like to get around to making, but that's not really a summer project for me. I also love Charlotte Stone's patterns, and this is gifted. I was sent this book for free, but not in return for anything, not even in return for talking about it online. However, I love Charlotte Stone's patterns. I've made 3 or 4 of them before, and I've made a couple of them, I've made the Charming Toadstool socks twice, and I have been itching to make some of these socks for a while. The thing is that my sock mojo disappeared like a fine morning mist right after I received this, so I haven't gotten around to it, so I would like to make something from this book. And also, I've not made a single pair of socks from 52 Weeks of Socks for myself. I have made 2 as a gift, but that leaves 50 other sock patterns that I would like to use. So, using my existing pattern stash, especially my physical pattern stash, and using my existing wool yarns are 2 things that I would really like to do. And I think that would give me a lot of fulfillment because I love the things that I have. And I want to not just see them as a burden or something that needs to be worked down, but see them as something that I bought because I really thought I would enjoy using it, and then to go ahead and enjoy using it. Okay, number 3, I would like to see if I can learn some new crafts this summer, primarily sewing. I've long wanted to learn how to sew. I tried a couple summers ago, it didn't go super well, and I was going to take a class this summer, but now that I am done with school and I have time to take classes, everyone's closed for summer break, so I'm going to see if I could maybe try a little bit on my own with my mother's sewing machine and YouTube to get me started and a little bit more comfortable with a machine. I also have purchased some macrame cord because I want to make a plant hanger to make use of an existing ceiling hook in our apartment to hang a plant, and I would like to continue cross-stitching. Those are secondary to knitting because knitting is the thing that I love most. However, in terms of hobbies and crafts, not like in the world. However, I am excited and nervous, but excited about the prospect of learning new things. And number 4, I want to make sure, this kind of goes along with learning new things, but I want to make sure that I am maintaining variety in my knitting. For example, I have a lot of projects planned or ongoing that are worked on 2 to 3 millimeter needles. And while so far I am enjoying those a lot and I'm not feeling any fatigue in how long it's taking me to work them, I know that I will at some point. And so I want to make sure that I'm varying stitch patterns, types of projects, and size of needle and yarn that I'm working with so that I don't feel overwhelmed or burnt out. DK weight sock, fingering weight sock, stockinette fingering weight garment, textured DK weight garment, things like that, so that I'm continuing to find enrichment and variety in my knitting is a goal that I would like to is something that I want to make sure that I have throughout this summer. For example, I'm currently working on a cumulus tee, which I'm working on 2.5 millimeter needles, and I know that that will get at some point tedious. So I have locked and loaded this skein of DK weight silk linen to make into a fast tank top at some point when I need some gratification and I need to feel a win and that I am working towards creation of that summer wardrobe that I would really like. So this is Akara Yarns Silk Linen DK in a discontinued color called Copper, which is why I got it on a discount. I will link where I got it down below in case there is still discounted skeins of it, but I got one because I think I can squeeze a Jessie made summer tank top out of this. I'm currently still torn as to whether or not to do one of the high neck summer secret crops or if I should do another as friends top, as friends tank, and just make a couple modifications to, because I can and I like that. However, that is my goal. The cumulus tee I'm working is in a flat, well, very shiny actually, but a uniformly colored gray yarn, and it's tiny stitches and it's stockinette forever. I currently am really enjoying working on it despite having had already frogged it twice, and I think I'm going to love the final object, but I know just based on past experience that I will get tired of working on it at some point. And I think that this shiny, variegated, quick tank top will be a good antidote and then make me go back to appreciating working on my cumulus tee instead. I have a couple other patterns that I'll get to in my next section that I think will continue to aid in this variation and variety objective. So yeah, slow and fast projects, different types of projects, I think are key to making sure that I'm having as much fun as possible this summer. Okay, now section number 2. If you are thrown by how structured this video is, me too, but I'm having fun. Okay, I have a number of concrete projects that I would like to make, some of which are ongoing. First of which is the cumulus tee that I've already talked about, because I've had my eye on that pattern for a while and I think it would really suit my wardrobe. Number 2, I want to make a rib lace raglan by James N. Watts, and I think I can squeeze a garment of that out of this yarn, which I had previously set aside to make a camisole, but I think that the rib lace raglan would be a better use of that. And this, again, falls into my variety objective. I have a lot of stockinette projects planned, and stockinette projects with similar constructions, and so I think that a raglan with this lace and these rows of eyelets will help break that up. It will also go by a lot faster because it's a very loose garment, and I think that that will help give me that sense of satisfaction and that sense of progress so that I don't feel like I'm stagnating this summer working on a lot of similar projects. I, like I said before, want to make a top out of this, and I also want to make a road tripper tee, which has been on my list of things to knit and pretty high on that list for 2 years. It just kind of keeps not happening because other things come up, and again, like I said, the summer season here is pretty short. But it's a sport weight raglan Henley with this quarter length button band, and I already have the yarn for it. I'll be using I will be using a cotton linen blend, the Mojave by Kelworn Woolens. I also want to see if I can sew some tote bags. Like I said, would like to learn how to sew, and I think tote bags and maybe pillowcases would be a good way to start. I've been watching sewing videos to see if I can understand some of the basics and get the hang of it, but I think tote bags would be a good way to start. I have some use for totes, like good sturdy ones with thicker straps and more of a base and not just the flimsy ones that you kind of get for free sometimes. I would also like to make that macrame plant hanger that I already talked about. And if I can, this feels too ambitious to say because I'm so not a sewer, someone who sews, but I would like to make a couple super casual summer dresses to really work in my wardrobe because, like I said, I am lacking summer garments that are super casual, that I don't have to think about, that I can wear and be comfortable in really high heat and really high humidity for me. I'm sure people are watching this who live in much warmer climates and think that, 90-degree weather with humidity and like the 30s in Celsius is really no big deal, but it is to me. I am a northerner and I do not thrive in the heat. And so if I could make a couple easy breezy dresses that are not super attention grabbing, but that I can just pull on and have that be an entire outfit and go to the grocery store or to the park or on a walk or bird watching, that would make me very happy. I also would like to maybe work on one of the pairs of mittens that I have been dreaming about. I really like knitting mittens, and there are a few that I think would be really good for me. However, I don't really have the yarn that I can think of off the top of my head for the patterns that I want, so that's a secondary project if I get tired of things or if inspiration strikes. I also have quite a few pairs of socks that I would like to make. I haven't really chosen a pattern for it yet, but I've had this yarn in stash since last summer or fall, and it's Alley Cat Yarns, which is an Ottawa local dyer, and their Ontario sock base, which is all yarn that was raised, spun, and hand-dyed in Ontario, which is the province of Canada where I live. And it is a 80% Dorset/Cheviot wool blend and 20% mohair. So it is non-superwash and it is no nylon. And it is this absolutely gorgeous color. Is the color listed? Persimmon. I want to make socks out of this. I think it would be really fun. I would like to test this. I am very interested in trying and supporting different Canadian yarns, and not just hand dyers, but people who are raising sheep and goats and spinning the yarn and keeping the supply chain as low carbon and local as possible. I find that very interesting, and I would like to explore that a lot more. So I would like to make socks using this. I haven't chosen a pattern, but as I showed you in my books, I have quite a few to choose from. And I would like to make something in this. Also, this color is just gorgeous. And I wouldn't really wear it on my... I don't really think I would wear this in a shirt or a sweater, but in socks, I think it would be lovely. And in a beautiful texture, I think it would be quite nice. I also would like to make the Luric socks, which I have in my 52 Weeks of Socks book. And they are a rib cabled sock. And I cast these on and did the literal first row, and that's it, a few months ago. But then I had to use the needles for other things, and I just never got around to it because my sock mojo was missing in action. I would like to use this yarn to do it, which is a Cat's Riverside Studio in the color Beryl, and I think it would be beautiful. So once I finish one of my current pairs of socks, I will cast those on. I think they will be very satisfying to make. And while we're here, this yarn is the Road Tripper Tee yarn that I will be using. Things are carefully bagged to protect against the carpet beetle menace. If I find a pattern that I like and is size inclusive, I would like to make a camisole this summer. I have a few yarns that I think would work. Also, when I say camisole, I mean one of those triangle cup ones that are very classic and elegant. I don't know why, but I am quite picky when it comes to the shape of those. Something about them I anticipate would hang strangely on my frame just based on having worn that type of thing in the past. And also, it's a lot of knitting, and I already have a bunch of fingering weight stockinette garments on the needles or planned. But I think it would be quite nice, especially with a cardigan or a loose overshirt on top. I think it would be very nicely temperature regulating, and I like that you can tuck that into jeans and feel elegant as well as comfortable. However, like I said, I'm picky with patterns, and I'm waiting to see how a lot of them knit up, and we'll see if I have time. The pebble top that came out in that famous Isire Breeze collection, I really like the look of it. And I love the picot edge. Fun fact about me, I really love a picot edge. However, it's not super size inclusive, and I've heard that there are a couple, not issues with the pattern, and I imagine I could probably work my way through them, having made camisoles before, but I'm waiting to see more people knit them. to see if that's something I would want to go cast on and read their notes and see whether or not they recommend it. I also, like I said, colorwork socks are high on my list. I also really love the look of the Barbaro top by Knitting for Olive. I don't immediately have a yarn in my stash in mind for it, but I think it's gorgeous and would be a lot of fun to knit. And if I could sew a skirt or some bottoms, like shorts, I think that that would be very useful to me. However, that feels just so wildly ambitious that I'm really not going to put that pressure on myself. And those are about the project ideas that I have in mind. I already would be surprised if I managed to get through all of those in the next 3 months, but it's nice to dream, and I'm really excited about all of those. They appeal to me greatly. I do wish there were more indie designers on this list, but the way that everything shook out is those are the things I want to make and wear, and they are mostly rather large designers, but I do have sweaters planned for the fall for more indie designers that I'm excited to cast on. But I also don't want to overcommit because I want to leave myself room to have inspiration or whimsy strike and then just cast on something fun, you know? So those are some more concrete plans, but I want to give myself wiggle room, and if I don't get around to knitting these things, or making these things, I don't want to kick myself over it. Okay, that brings us to the yarn update section of this video. So today is, I think it's June 19th. It is June 19th today. And so as of June 19th, I am towards my net negative 2,023 grams of yarn in 2023 goal. My overall total of yarn in and out is -6 grams, which is, I would say, very far from that goal. And here's a further breakdown of the numbers. I have had 1,238 grams of yarn enter my possession, and I have had 1,244 grams leave my possession, mostly in the form of knitted objects, some of which belong to me, some of which I gave away as gifts, and 107 of those grams were in a ball of yarn that I gave to one of my friends who wanted to learn how to knit socks, and it was a ball of DK weight sock yarn. Almost all of that yarn in, I would say maybe about 700 of those grams, or maybe 600 or 700 of those grams. Actually, that's not most of it, that's about half. A little more than half of the yarn in all comes from my Knit City haul. And most of the other yarn in was like 50 grams of Knitting for Olive cotton merino to finish my twist loop camisole, 100 grams to beef up the sweater quantity that I needed for a colorwork scrappy project that I have planned for the fall, things like that. So nothing that I particularly regret buying or that I really think was a wildly superfluous purchase. But yeah, I currently have barely knit down any amount of my wool closet. I'm not particularly disheartened by this, if I'm going to be honest, because I knit in the first 4 or 5 months of this well over 1,000 grams of yarn, and I don't have many immediate purchases in mind for my yarn, and I don't think that the 2,023 gram goal is particularly out of reach. We are just before the half-year mark, which is why I thought it would be fun to give this update. And I don't know, I think, again, part of my have fun, no pressure is, it would be really cool if I hit this goal, and I still think it's well within my reach. But I'm not going to get mad at myself, and part of this is to get an idea of how much I knit, how much I consume, and to see what yarn flows in and out of my possession, or in and out of my closet of yarn. Okay, it's mostly clothes, but there's yarn at the bottom of that closet. And what I use it for. So yeah, -6, and I barely just hit the -6. I was in the positives for the last few weeks since Knit City. The way that I account this is, okay, I finished a bulky weight crochet through at the beginning of this year. However, none of that yarn counts towards the negative portion because I started that project 2 years ago, and it would be hard to measure how much has been out. Not really that hard, but that's just kind of the rule. Similarly, I finished a cardigan that I had started in the fall, also in 2023, and I did not count that as negative because I'd already started. Also, projects currently on the needles are not counted in the net negative in the subtraction section because they're ongoing and it feels like a counting your chickens before they hatch scenario, and I would like to avoid any jinxes there. However, I have one finished sock in a pair, and I did weigh the balls of yarn after that, so that is counted in the net negative. Just to give you an idea of my system. This is not meant to be super exact, and I'm okay with that. I also did not weigh all the yarn I had going in before this because I didn't feel like I needed to have an idea, because the point is to remove 2023 grams, not to have an idea of what's there to begin with. Also, I go through my stash on a regular basis. I like to look at it, so I know what's there. I also don't anticipate this number going down or up. Oh, I'm in the negative, so is it down or is it up? I don't expect this number to change significantly in the summer because, like I said before, a lot of my projects are going to be lightweight and long and slow. So even if I make a whole garment out of this is 100 grams, and that would be only 100 grams out of stash, but I would get a whole garment out of it. Same with my Cumulus tee. My Cumulus tee, I have 150 grams of yarn set aside for it. I imagine it's going to take me 2 months to make, especially since I've already frogged it twice. Not a lot, but on a 2.5 millimeter project, any frogging feels like a lot. So I'm going to spend 2 months on something and then only have 150 grams out of stash to show for it. Similarly, I have small feet, and so I don't need a ton of yarn to make socks, and that's going to move slowly too. Again, I'm okay with this because that's just the ebbs and flows of seasonal knitting. And I know in the fall I have 3 DK weight sweater quantities and patterns set aside that I would like to make as soon as the weather cools, and that is my priority again, as well as 1 or 2 worsted weight sweater quantities that I would like to use in the fall as soon as I can, and those will then remove very large chunks of yarn by the numbers, by weight, out of my stash, just like that happened in the fall, in this past winter when I knit 2 worsted weight sweaters, and then that was 700 grams out of my stash in 2 months. Also, the past few months I have been really, really busy with school and work. I'm finishing my master's degree, and that did not leave a lot of time for my hobbies, especially since I'm still trying to be like a present friend and family member and, engage in other hobbies and look after my body and do fun things. I'm about to have a lot of time on my hands this summer. To extend my contract hours, I'm now working part-time for most of the summer, and I'm going to have a lot more crafting time on my hands, so I will get through things at what I expect. I mean, knock wood, but what I expect will be a slightly faster pace than I had in the 6 months immediately before this moment in time. And also, this is for fun. Like, it would be great if I meet that 2023 grams of yarn out of stash goal, but it's also okay if I don't, because I like to maintain having a certain amount of yarn in my possession because I'm finishing school, my income situation fluctuates. I'm comfortable. Like, my expenses are covered. Do I have a lot of disposable income? Not really, but that's okay. But I like having yarn in my possession so that if I want to knit, I can. So the goal isn't to get rid of all of it. It's not even to get rid of most of it. It's just, well, if I achieve my 2023 grams of yarn, that would make a significant dent in my stash. But I'm not trying to get rid of all of it. I'm not trying to clear space. I just want to make sure that I'm not over-consuming, I'm not collecting and accumulating yarn that I don't need at a rate significantly faster than I can use it, and I just want to make sure that my brain does not feel cluttered and I don't feel pressured by the amount of yarn I have waiting to be used, so that I'm racing through the projects I'm currently working on to work down that amount that I have instead of being present and enjoying it. So that's about my update. I'm very curious to hear what your summer project plans are, or winter if you're in the southern hemisphere. I still want you guys to feel included. Or if you're coming out of summer and you're in the winter hemisphere, what were your favorite projects from this past summer? Like, what are the things that you feel like other people should really be making or should know about? And do you have any tips on sewing for me? And do you guys also share my feelings of wanting to use up what you have but not wanting to be stashless? I'm very curious. So yeah, okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this quick video, and I'm wishing you and your loved ones all the best. Okay,